Chapter 86. Todd stormed out of the barn and flung the door closed. The latch failed to connect. The door swung open again, creaking loudly. Todd clenched his fist. He spun around, whipped the door shut, and kicked it several times before he punched it. The pain cleared his mind. He shook his hand, whimpering. He was so angry he couldn't see straight. The evening chores were finally finished. One of the airlines broke in the middle of milking. It took him forever to fix it. Hiram could have done it in minutes. Todd struggled until he nearly set the machine on fire. Now, it was so late, he would barely get the nod before having to milk again. Hiram, Todd thought, angry and sad at the same time. I need you. Where are you? He sank against the door. He sought its support to hold him up when all he wanted to do was fall on his knees and cry. Why, God? Why, Frank? He was my bud. I don't have anyone else. Todd couldn't believe he was dead. Now he knew why Frank wasn't home when he dropped by yesterday. He thought Frank stood him up. The more he thought about it, the more it tore him up inside. He didn't understand why he didn't go around the house and throw stones at Frank's window. He had dozens of times before, but this time he felt compelled to just walk away. The thought of Frank just lying there dead was driving him crazy. Todd wanted to talk to Hiram when he got to the farm. He needed to speak to him about Frank and other things. He wanted Hiram to explain what he witnessed the other night. He wanted to hear everything was all right and he wasn't going mad. He wanted to know that the man he'd trusted since he was 8 years old wasn't drugging him and using his body the way he did Teddy. He wanted to hear it from him. He wanted Hiram to tell him he wasn't a sick, twisted baby raper, and he wanted to know right now. His emotions raged with despair at the loss of his friend. They churned in outrage over his perverted surrogate father. Where are you, you bastard? Todd yelled. The low mooing of the cows was his only answer. Todd felt like he was losing his mind. The floodgates opened when Frank died, and now he was drowning. He fell to his knees at last. Frank's smiling face burned into his memory. He wept. Loss ripped a hole in his soul. An ocean of red poured over the mind picture. Blood. It's Frank's blood. His time was too short. Todd couldn't get it out of his mind. It was suicide, wasn't it? Something happened and Frank gave up. Drugs, they said. They found LSD in his room. What nightmare vision drove Frank over the edge and sent him flying out that window? When I die, will Frank be waiting for me? He punched the dirt driveway. I hate you, Hiram. The time I need you the most and you're not here, I hate your guts. Todd glanced up at the trailer, his tears blurring his vision. He laughed through the sorrow at what he did inside. The living room was in shambles. He tore it apart with a fit of rage that exploded when he realized Hiram wasn't home. There was broken glass everywhere. He overturned the entertainment center. The television screen imploded when it hit the edge of the coffee table. He smashed the living room phone against the rear wall. It lay in pieces around the old man's plants. Hiram was probably out with Arthur Kelly, since he didn't take his truck. Burning the trailer down would have been too easy, and leaving even easier. Todd wanted Hiram to see the pain in his face while it was still fresh. He wasn't going until the old man came back. Todd would confront him when he did. Hiram would give him the answers he needed to keep his world from falling apart. Or Todd would break every bone in his fat, perverted, pedophile body. The pain in his fist subsided. Todd realized he broke his knuckle on the door. He wiped his eyes and moved to stand up, but a firm grip fell on his shoulder, forcing him back down. Don't get up, O'Connor, Henry said, his eyes burning with anger. His grin was more like a snarl. If you do, I'll knock you back down again. Todd clenched his fist and was about to swing. Connecting with flesh and bone would be a lot more satisfying than punching the door, even with a broken knuckle. Todd looked up. His anger melted away to uncertainty. Henry wasn't alone. Ricardo looked down at him, scowling. Across the barnyard, Chris led Matt, Max, and Sandy into the trailer. Todd saw them through the windows as they moved from room to room. Derek and Teddy lurked at the edge of the driveway. Todd's heart raced. Oh God, he thought, they're looking for Hiram. Chris kicked the screen door open. He crossed the yard to Todd with the others right behind him. Ricardo was on his other shoulder, his nails dug into his collarbone. "Where is he, you son of a bitch?" Chris cried as he swung his fist. He punched Todd square in the face. A loud crack echoed in the barnyard. Todd flew back, landing on his rear end. His eyes grew wide. He jumped to his feet, his fists at the ready. His upper lip was split and bleeding. "I don't know why you did that, McKee," Todd spat, his eyes narrow. "But if you think you're getting away with it because your pussy friends are here, think again." Ricardo jumped forward. He punched Todd twice in the stomach and once in the chin, knocking him down again. Todd fell flat, but scrambled to his feet. He moved into the middle of the barnyard. Ricardo lunged again. Todd spun around and leg swept him, flipping him over backward. Ricardo hit the dirt hard, knocking the wind out of him. Max glared at Todd, but did nothing. He bent over to help his brother up. "What's going on, Chris?" Derek called from the driveway. "Where's the farmer?" "Gone," Chris yelled. He pointed at Todd. "This scumbag's going to tell me where." "What do you want Hiram for?" Todd asked, spitting blood as the boys circled him. "Why don't you tell us?" Max asked. He shoved Todd into Sandy, who clotheslined him. Todd smacked down on the dirt on his back. "Yeah, O'Connor," Sandy said through his teeth. He leaned over so they were face to face. "You tell us. After what we heard tonight, you might walk away from this still breathing." Todd glared at Teddy, who looked nervously away. "What did you tell them?" he cried. "You liar!" Max kicked Todd in the gut. The wind rushed out of him in a loud whoosh. He curled up, holding his stomach. Ricardo kicked him in the side of his face. The skin below his cheekbone tore. The boys dropped on him, pummeling him. Todd wheezed, trying to crawl away. Ricardo wanted to kick him again. Chris held him back. He wanted answers. "How could you do it, Todd?" Chris demanded, shoving him with the tip of his sneaker. Todd fell over onto his back. He groaned, "You're dead," and spat a wad of blood-filled phlegm at Chris. It hit his pant leg. "You're all dead." "I'd worry about myself if I were you," Henry said, feeling an enormous sense of satisfaction. "Hiram's sick, but you just stood there and watched." Todd looked over. His left eye was swollen shut. His lip felt like a slice of liver. "Yeah, Todd," Chris replied. "How could you just stand there and watch that maniac rape Teddy?" He grew angrier by the second. "You lied to me. I asked you if that bastard ever touched you. He has, right? A lot, right? So much and so many times that you're just like him. Is that why you stood there and watched? Is that why you didn't help Teddy?" "No," Todd cried. "It's not true. I'm not like him." "Maybe you aren't," Matt said. "Not yet, but you're sick, man. You need help." Max moved toward Todd. "He needs to be beat on some more." "No," Chris said, holding Max back. "We've done enough." He turned to Todd. "This isn't over. It's too bad it came to this. You had the chance to come clean, man, like I did. We could have prevented this if we turned Hiram in. You know that, don't you?" Chris turned, leading his friends away. He said, "Call the cops and tell, Todd. We're telling them tomorrow." Todd watched them walk away. He thought, "They're right. It's my fault. Why didn't I stop him?" His mind went black, burning with vengeance. "I can still stop him." He hit the ground with the side of his fist and started to cry. "He has to come home sometime." Chris and the others faded into darkness.